With us now is Rebecca Metz. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. How are you?
Good. So you're from Jersey. So growing
Yep.
up with a name like Metz, was that an interesting kind of childhood for you?
Only insofar as my kindergarten teacher's last name was Metz, and so all the kids were like, "Is she your grandma?" So I had to, get over that early on. And we are Mets fans in my house. My parents are both from New York, so um, it made it easy to know what baseball team to root for.
And speaking of your parents, I read that they are singers, classical singers.
Yep, they're both classically trained singers. They met in New York City All City Choir. So yeah, the music has always been a big part of my life.
Favorite song growing up listening to them sing?
To be honest, I kind of hated what they sang because it was all classical music and I was a kid. So like the only records my parents had that were not classical records were Beatles records. So I
Okay.
grew up on the Beatles because that's all I wanted to listen to of what we had in the house.
My mom was always singing around our house. She used to sing Splish Splash, I was taking a bath.
Hmm.
So it was not quite as classical as yours,
My
but
parents were always singing Handel's Messiah. So I
there.
know the bass line to Handel's Messiah by heart, which has never come in handy, but maybe someday.
I also found out that you are a big Muppet Show fan, and that
Yes.
was kind of what caused you to be who you are today. Take us back to that moment. What was that moment of inspiration for you?
It's just, I was a child of the 70s, so I would sit on my parents' green shag carpet on Sundays at 7:30 and watch The Muppet Show. And just from a very early age, I remember looking at sort of, it was the craziness that happened backstage more than anything that I was like, that's where I'm supposed to be. That's where I belong, is in that craziness and trying to make things look put together on stage. Like it just spoke to something in me. And that's the first time I thought, huh, I think this might be what I'm going to do.
And why not, right? And why not?
Hmm.
Early success for you. What were some of those early moments? Because you've had a really stellar career, but some of those early yeses for you that still touch your heart that you're thankful for. What were those?
Um, Getting into Carnegie Mellon, which is where I studied acting. That was in eighth grade. I actually did embarked on sort of a big research project to decide where I wanted to go to college. And I think my parents were so excited that I wanted to go to college that they just sort of let me run with it. And I picked Carnegie Mellon and we went and met with the dean of the acting department. And I was like, you should just let me come because I'm going to come anyway. And then fast forward 4 years, then I got in and that's where I went. And it was the right place for me. So that was a significant yes, I would say.
It's
And
number
then,
one in the world, really. Like we have a lot of theater students here that are, working behind the scenes with us today, and they read that you
uh-huh.
went to Carnegie Mellon, and they're like, oh, like they all like, oh, like it's impressive. It's still
It's
impressive.
fancy, but the funny thing is, my dad is an engineer, and it's also a great engineering school. So he would just tell his coworkers that I went to Carnegie Mellon and not tell them for what. And so they were like, "Oh, good for her." And he was like, "Yeah, it's great." Um, and then credit-wise, I think one of the biggest moments for me was I did an episode of Nip Tuck that
Ah,
was a big deal for them, and it was the biggest thing I had done to that point, and it's still something people recognize me for and talk to me about. And that was I think the idea of a big break is kind of a lie, but
oh, yeah.
that's probably as close as I ever came in terms of things moving forward in a significant and noticeable way.
And when you're an actor, I feel like you're always looking for that next something.
Yep.
It's kind of like being a farmer. You plant, you plant the seeds, you water it. It's like the big red hen. Remember that
It's
children's story? Like, okay, well, somebody contributes, and then you all can eat the bread, right? Theater and acting and being part of an ensemble, it's kind of like that. Like everybody's got to kind of do their part, and then when something ends, it's like time to plant the seeds again. It's
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that because I've always used kind of a seed metaphor on the business side. We actors, I think we think about the acting part, we think about the creative part, but there's a lot of business networking and marketing that has to happen. And I refer to it as planting seeds. Like, you sort of find a way to initiate a relationship with someone, and every time you see them or communicate with them, you're kind of watering that seed. And it's a long road. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance. It's not like, again, it's not a big break thing. It's kind of years and years
right.
of steady work. And then people are like, well, you just came out of nowhere. And you're like, okay, well, sure. Let's go with that.
I just crawled up from the sewer one day and
Exactly.
voila. Let's talk
Exactly.
about the role. Let's talk about the role of Jenna. That's a big role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I played Jenna Wrather on a Disney Channel show called Coop and Cami Ask the World. She is the mother of 4 Wrather children and 1 friend next door who's always there. So basically 5 children. And she's really cool. She's a single working mom, which I think is, I feel, honored and a great responsibility to portray. And we get to see her. When I auditioned for it, I was like, I'm not what I imagine as a Disney Channel mom. I'm not perfect and perky and happy all the time. And, but that's not what she is. She's flawed and cranky sometimes and gets annoyed with her kids. And I really love her. That role has been a really sort of surprising detour from the path that I thought I was on. And it's been more fun than I ever thought it would be.
When you're researching and doing some character development, they're giving you the character, but you're doing a little research on your own. Do you ever base some of the elements of your character on friends or people that you know? And do they ever recognize themselves?
I think, I was going to say I tell them, but that's not always true. With Jenna, I actually have a friend who is the single mom of 4 kids. And so a lot of Jenna is based in sort of what I've seen from spending time with her and her family. I do sometimes. It depends on the character and on the script. And there's of course, I think with everybody, there's little pieces of people from our lives in every character, whether we're conscious of it or not.
One of the things we discussed earlier is the fact that, and when we were in the green room, is the zoo. You got married at a zoo. So you've always been kind of creative, somebody that marches to the beat of their own drummer,
Yes.
So you said I do next to the polar bears? I mean, what was it like?
We were near the giraffes.
Okay.
When we got engaged, I immediately was flooded with everything I didn't want to do. I didn't want a wedding like every other wedding that people had been to. And I was just sort of looking through venues online and saw that you could get married at the Santa Barbara Zoo. And I remember the picture that I saw was a bride and groom looking beautiful, smiling at the camera. And right between them was a giraffe with a big smile on his face. And I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want.
And the big, long, black tongue. I mean,
yeah.
I was so surprised.
We skipped that part.
Yeah, you skipped that part. There was no kissing. You may kiss the bride, the groom, and the giraffe. It wasn't like that.
The giraffe was not actually present, although I did, when we went to see the location, I said to the woman who was showing us around, I was like, I just have one question. And she said, you cannot have a penguin ring bearer. And I said, how did you know that's what I was going to ask? And she said, everybody asks that. They're disgusting. They smell. They're rude. You don't actually want one in real life. And I was like, okay. So we didn't have a giraffe or a penguin.
Oh my gosh. What are you most looking forward to when you're able to go out and play again and do something special? What will that something special be for you?
I mean, I'm excited to go back to work. I'm excited, like you mentioned, ensemble. I'm excited to be around people again and able to, the thing that I love most about being an actor is that sort of back and forth, the give and take of I have the ball and then I throw it to you and we sort of watch the scene unfold and feel that energy between us. That's really what I'm missing in all of this. And so I can't wait to get back to work.
And you've gotten a lot of different types of roles, you're doing an adult thing and then you're doing this and you're doing that. It's like a myriad of many, many different things. Is that one of the things that you love best about your journey so far? Is just the variety of it all?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been surprising. I feel really fortunate to have not been pigeonholed. I've gotten to do dramas and comedies and single cams and multicams and family stuff and R-rated stuff. And, it keeps things interesting. It's nice to have a steady job. It's been nice in these last few years to have jobs that you go back to over and over again instead of sort of one audition, one day of work, which was how it was for a while. But, I also never really want to give up what you said, that feeling of being able to do lots of different things and sort of picking it up all the time.
Right, stretch the muscle and really get into a part and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you also get to do guest speaking? Have you ever gone back to Carnegie Mellon and been done a keynote and stuff like that? What does that feel like?
I have. I've been involved with the alumni organization, the Carnegie Mellon West Coast Drama Alumni Clan out here for a long time. And so I have gone back to campus a few times to talk to the kids. I always talk to them kids. They're in their 20s. But when they come out and graduate, every year they do a showcase for agents and casting directors and things. And I usually give them a sort of welcome to LA talk and try to give them a sense of what to expect, because it's a big transition from college out into the professional world. So yeah, I do get to go back and talk to them a bit, which is really, it's a nice way to sort of remind myself of how far I've come, you know, because we don't necessarily feel it a lot of the time. We don't really mark our own progress. And so going back and going, oh yeah, I have actually done a lot of stuff. I know a lot more than I did when I was here. Yeah.
It's nice too, I think, when you are able to kind of mentor somebody, because I think, like you said earlier today when we were talking, is that it really is about planting seeds. And who knows, 10 years from now, that person that you're inspiring now might very well end up hiring you. You know, it's like a collaboration. It's like there's no generation really in theater and in acting. It's like once you're an actor, right? Yep. And age just doesn't matter. It's all about the role and what you bring to it. I've enjoyed that so much.
I wish age didn't matter, but you're right. I mean, anybody, you know, they always say be nice to the assistant and the casting officer at the agency, because they might be the next person to hire you.
Correct.
There are people who graduated long after me whose careers like skyrocketed past me, and it's great. Once it doesn't matter insofar as once we're out here, we're all in the same pool, we're all in the same business, and you never know when your paths are going to cross again.
The one thing that I've found, and maybe you find this to be true too, is that in the East Coast, when you say, oh, we're going to do lunch, you're actually like writing it down in the calendar and you're doing lunch. In Los Angeles, when you say, oh, let's do lunch, it just means, oh, it's really nice to see you. I like your hair.
I've had this conversation with people. I think that part of it in LA is that so many of us are in the entertainment industry, particularly in film and television, and our schedules are unpredictable. People, you know, everyone in my life has had to get used to the fact that they'll go, oh, what are you doing next Wednesday? And I go, I don't know. I never know. That's part of what we accept when we, you know, choose this path. And so there's always, I can't plan anything in advance. I can't plan vacations or trips. They're all subject to change. It takes, you know, some goodwill from the people in your life to get used to that. And so when you go, let's do lunch, let's put it in the book. You can put it in the book, but everybody knows the odds are that it's going to get canceled because somebody is going to have an audition or have
That's
to
a
go
better
to work,
way. You know what?
it is.
That's a better way of explaining it. So now I'm going to look at it that way. You've gave me a nice paradigm shift. You know, because I grew up in St. You know, but it's true. Like I grew up in St. Louis, and when I got to New York, I didn't know what to wear to a black tie event, and you know, it's culture. And I've never lived in Los Angeles. I have gone whale watching there, and I was in the Northridge earthquake, which was cool. But I never. but that's a great paradigm shift for me. So now I'll look at it that way. You're right. Maybe it's just because everybody's in the business, you just don't know day to day.
There are some flaky people too, but a lot of it really is that, you know, if you have this kind of job, you don't know what you're going to be doing a week from today. And so it takes a little bit of a mental adjustment.
Well, I thank you for joining me here today. You know, and hopefully eventually we'll be able to be in the three-dimensional world. But it was a lot of fun visiting with you. I was really excited when I found out that you were going to be able to, you know, create an opportunity where we could talk today. So, Rebecca, thank you so very much. And I wish you all the best and continued success on your career and with your 3 cats and your wonderful life. So it was very nice to meet with you.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful being with you. Thank you for putting up with my handheld garden camera situation out here. We're making the best with what we have. It was a real pleasure to talk with you.
It's fun to talk with you too. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.